let's start with the visual production scheduler. With the visual production scheduler, and this is actually was the slide that we showed at a Directions US in May in wonderful Las Vegas. We said what we want to include in the version 1, and we delivered to this promise. We provided this and sent the version 1 of the visual production scheduler to Microsoft for app source validation end of June, and since I think the 30th of June, this is live in app source. These were the features that we said that will come later. We are still not sure if you want to have the visual BOM in the Business Central versions, and we definitively will not provide any printing support for the foreseeable future. Next question coming in. If the version is compatible with Docker environment, yes, it is. So you can install it in the Docker environment. I think with the VPS and the VJS, we need Business Central fall release, so version 13. And once the VAPS is available in beta, we will need the version 14 cumulative update 1. But we always make sure, of course, to be compatible with the current version. So this was the product that we released, and since then, as on end of June, we shipped and released the version 1 as announced. Then in July, and this is something that we wrote about but never showed in a webinar, we added the progress bar based on time and quantity. So if you post on a production order routing line, then you can post progress on consumption, on time and quantity, and we definitely showed this, and also this has an impact on the drag and drop. And then with the August update, which is done, which is now awaiting for Microsoft's approval, is that we show that we have found a way to visualize setup time. So this is a new functionality. This did not exist in the NAV VPS, and then we also kind of started to bring the product closer to what we had in the past, because now you can hide work-free times, and there is the capability already to define and save one data filter. And I suggest now we should have a look at this, and actually I'm now switching at my local Docker environment, in which I run my Business Central extensions, and I imported or installed them actually through a PowerShell script. So let's see what's happening. So once it is installed, and now I'm here on the NETRONIC visual productions here on the VPS version 1.200. The one that you can download right now from AppSource and from our partner portal is 1.1. But as soon as we got the confirmation of Microsoft, then we will make this available also for local installation. So when I start the visual production scheduler, and this is just a quick recap of the product, it reads all the data from the underlying production table. So we see the planned production order, the firm planned production orders, the released production orders. We have the time scale here where we can zoom in and zoom out with the mouse wheel. This is what we call the production order view. This is pretty much, as you know, from the older version, from the .NET version. We can zoom into one production order here. So this production order has just one production order line, and this production order line then has 4 routing steps. They are shown here. In the background, these gray and white stripes, this is the calendar, so this shows me the work time in white and the non-work time in gray. And depending on my settings, and this is what I do now, depending on my settings, I can make a scheduling of the predecessors or the successors, and also schedule across production order lines if you have a reservation from one production order to the other. And so this is functionality that was in version 1. This is new functionality now that came actually with the July update. This is that we can say, okay, we do the progress calculation either none, so I don't want to see a progress bar, or I want to see a progress bar based on time or based on quantity, and I made some postings based on quantity, so I select this, and when I do so, and now just getting back to this one here, we see the dependencies of the routings, and then when I move one of these operations and I have my settings as I had them, then the predecessor stays where it was and the successors get moved. We see these little gray dots here that indicate to me that these operations have been changed, not yet saved back. If I'm happy, I can save this and then update the underlying Business Central database, get the confirmation, and these gray bubbles disappear. So now let's look at the progress bars. So this was general functionality. So now let's look at the progress bars, which are actually a new functionality. As you know, you can just post progress and post consumption to release production orders. So now I'm scrolling down to some of the release production orders, and you see that actually I have a release production order here. That seems as if it started after my work date. So the work date here in a Kronos environment is always kind of end of January, but of course with your clients the work date will be the today line. And so now we see we have a production order here that seems that they started in the past and that is running, and this was the one actually that I used to post progress. So when we look at this in more detail, so now I expand this a little bit, that we just can focus on this production order, we see that actually we have 3 different type of progress layer, and they automatically appear now when, as you saw in actions, administration setup, I select show progress calculation based on quantity. So now we have a progress layer that spans the entire operation, that is in black. We have one, this one is also spanning the entire operation in black. We have one like this spans only a part of this production order routing line or this operation. This is in gray. And we have one that spans the entire bar, and this is in red. So what does this mean? Well, if this is in black here, then this means basically this is finished. And you see it now from the progress percentage. Actually, you see progress by quantity in percent, it's 100%, and this is the second last line, and the routing status is finished. So if this is finished, if the production or the routing line is marked as finished on the routing status, and if progress by quantity is 100% or higher, then we make this in black. You cannot move this one anymore, so it is where it is, but it also does not use any capacity. So if I would mark this as finished, then actually I could position another operation here without creating a capacity overload. So the black one means finished, progress 100%. The gray ones means this is still work in process, so I booked some output but not the full output. So I see that a fraction of this has been done, and the gray line is always relative to the net production time. So it is relative to what is here in dark orange, so to the time when I actually work on this operation, which is this time and then this time. And when I hover with the mouse over it, and now let me scroll a bit, then we see it in total. If I hover with the mouse over it, then I see the progress by quantity is 75%. 75%. So this gray bar kind of is 3/4 of this dark orange one, and we see the routing status is in progress. So actually now this tells me when I look at this, my work date is here, and the progress is here. So I'm a little bit behind schedule, right? Because if I would have been on schedule, then the progress should be kind of until the end of that day. So if this is today, and if I'm continuing to working on here, I have to kind of cope up with it a bit. And then we have this routing line where this thing is red. So what does this mean? This actually means that this is still in progress, but we already posted more output to this than we initially scheduled. So I think here I have a quantity on the production order of whatever 65 and already posted an output of 75. So when we look at this, the progress by quantity is 115%, but the routing status is still in progress. So here we know that there is some inefficiency, and also here we most likely know that this will take longer because it was planned to take that long for 100%. We already made 115% and we are not ready. So this is what we have with the progress bars and what we added with the progress bar in the July release. And when we look at this, sorry for that, actually now we have, there is an interdependence between the settings with the progress booking and a feature that used to be in there before. This is auto schedule with 0 buffer time, and I switch now on also that the predecessors are moved. So let's look what this means in two different cases. So in the first case, I still have my released my planned production orders that I looked at in the beginning. And remember, when this schedule predecessors was not switched on, then I could move this one here, and then this one get moved automatically, this one got moved automatically, but this stayed where it was. So when the schedule predecessors is switched on, when I move this, then these are moved and this one is moved. So now let's look at what's happening when there is a production order where we already posted output. And the interesting thing is this one and this one, they are finished, they won't move anyway. But this one here is in progress, and mirroring the standard Business Central behavior, this can be moved. So I can, you see when I hover with the mouse here, I don't get a cursor that allows me to move. This is where this stays where it is. So this one here can be moved, and this should be able to get moved. So now I can move this, and then I get the question, hey, this is started, do you want to move it anyway? And say, oh, no, I don't want to move it. But in theory, I could do. So now what happens when I move something that is after that? So when I move the successor of both these number 30 and 40 that are both in progress, the one still going on, the one already with more progress than planned. So when I move this and I have the option on automatically schedule predecessor, then I also get this warning. I also get this message, then, hey, the operation number 30 has already started because there is some progress in it. Do you want to move it? And I say, no, don't want to move it. And then I get the same question for this task. And if I say yes, then this get moved. I just ignore it for the time being. So we take into account, when we make this automatic movement of successor and predecessor, we take into account the routing status, if it is finished or if it is in progress. So this is one of the bigger things we implemented with the July release. And so now with the August release, we made a couple of further enhancements, and one applies to the capacity view. And this is some of the feedback we actually also got for our .NET product. So now we are in the capacity view, and we look at all the data by work center and by, so this is work center groups, this is work center, this is machine center. So we can look at all these data by, and all my production orders by work centers and by machine centers. And some of the things that that people always ask is they say, okay, this now indicates kind of as one bar what the duration of the setup time and the runtime, and I also think the wait time is. And we got a lot of requests that people told us, okay, let's forget about the wait time, but actually the setup time in this view is relevant to know. And so now what we can do on the right mouse click is we can say, hey, show setup times. And if we do say show setup times, then you see that some of these bars now have at the very beginning this gray area. So part of this bar now is grayed in the beginning and fully grayed, like this one here and this one here. And this gray area now indicates the portion of the setup time of this production order routing line. So when I look at this production order routing line here, that was a bad example because let me see if I find a production order with an easy routing. So this is the first step here. So this gray area here, line and routing. When I look at the first step here, setup time is an hour, and then the runtime is 10 minutes times the quantity. And also here, the sixth step, the sixth routing step is actually, I put in that it just consists of setup time. So I want to make this step independent of the quantity that I put in here. So this is just setup time. So if we look at this, so the first step, that was 1 hour setup time. Let's drill down into this. So this is this part of it. This is this 1 hour. This is the setup time that was defined. And when we look at the sixth routing step of this on the painting cabin, where my routing was just, let's drill down here, the painting cabin, then we see that this operation is shown completely in gray because there was no runtime, no wait time, no transfer time. It was just 100% setup time. So this is entirely in gray. So this is some additional information that we give you and your client so that you can see the setup time on one glance. And if you don't want to see this, then on right mouse click, you can say also, okay, let's hide it and see it in the different coloring. Then you see here in the background these gray and white stripes. Gray non-work time, white is work time. And if you don't want to see the so much gray area because you want to focus on the work time, then you can say, okay, calendar hide non-working periods, and then you only see those gray stripes that are unique for some of the work and machine centers. This is functionality we already had in the .NET product. So this is something I assume you're familiar with. So the setup time, showing the setup time here in the capacity view, and then hide and show work-free times is something we brought in with the August release. And also what we brought in with the August release is that you can define a data filter. So a filter that reduces the amount of data that is loaded into the visual production scheduler. And this is also something that you do under admin setup. And then here under actions, there is filter, and I can edit a data filter. And then I can say, okay, I can filter on work center group, on work center, on machine center, on production order. So let's say I want to filter the production order status, and I only want to see my released ones. I say, okay, now the filter is defined. And if I reload, then I would like to reload without changing, saving. That's okay. So now only the released are shown, and then I can, of course, go here, set up filter, and I can clear the data filter. And then if I reload again, then I see the full picture again. So right now, this is just one filter that you can apply, and this is the one data filter. And then of course the next step is very obvious, that we give you, as you know this from the NAV products, that we give you the capability to define multiple filters and save them under the name, and that we also start again the differentiation between the data filter and the view filter. But for now, the enhancements with the visual production scheduler is that we have the progress bar, that we can show the setup time in the capacity view, that we can hide and show the work-free times, and that we can work with a data filter. Let's quickly look what's next, and then I will come to your questions. So now we kind of won't do an end of September version. So we did a version in end of July, we did a version end of August. We skip end of September, but move this to early October. So we will provide and come with new version of the products to Directions EMEA, which is in the second week of October in Vienna. With the visual production scheduler, we have the capability to save multiple data filters. We work on the view filters. We will work on showing the due date in the capacity view. We want to have a function where we quickly can view from jump from one view into the other view. So you are in the production order view, you select the production order, and then you say show in capacity view, and then it opens the capacity view and scrolls to that production order and highlights it. And we want to introduce a new vertical date line, which is the last update time line. So a line that tells you when you last updated data with the reload button. So when was the time when you fetched the latest the data from Business Central. With the visual job scheduler, we work on the function to split job planning lines, which is a very popular feature in our .NET version. We will take what we built for data filters on the VPS and bring to the VJS. We actually, and I'm kind of happy that we decided to do this, we play around right now with the Business Central notifications. So what we want to do is actually that, for example, when you move a job planning line past the finish date of the job, that you also get a notification, or when you move something that creates a resource overload, that you get a notification, making use of the Business Central notification framework, so that the user get a standard Business Central alert that he can react to in the VPS, or where you can just say, okay, thanks, please ignore. And for both products, I have this in brackets. If we have time at the end, we will also make on work on the function to customize the tooltips. This is nothing I would want to commit right now, but the rest is what we are working on right now, and where we have kind of a full commitment to get this done until Directions EMEA. And so if we look at what we are doing with Business Central and how we're developing the product, from me, I really would like you to ask to take two things away with you and to remember from this call. So we at NETRONIC, we are really full steam ahead with our Business Central extension development. And we know that there are still weaknesses in the Microsoft process, and we know that there are weaknesses in app source monetization. And we know about some of the discussions going on, but still we are very, very much committed to it. And we are working now with monthly releases on the VPS and VJS. We have the beta version of the VAPS almost ready. We will start with the VSS after Directions. So it's really, we have a large team of our developers now working on this. And with this, your customer's investment is safe. So when your customers invest into our products, their investment is safe. And also, if they are now on NAV, they can start with the visual production scheduler on NAV. If you update them for Business Central, they get the Business Central version basically for free. There is this the path the customer is doing, and you need to do some help for them to close the gap. But behind you and strengthen you, there are a couple of people here to make your customers' investment, even if they invest into NAV now or invest into the Business Central fall release and still work with the role-tailored client because they unsure on the web client, their investment is safe if they invest in NETRONIC technology. And I think this is quite important point that I also ask you to bring to your customers, that here at NETRONIC is a company that is committed and that is kind of bringing the power from the old world into the power of the new world, and that there should be a more or less frictionless migration experience for these guys. And so I'm coming to the end of my presentation. I would like to thank you very much for being my guest today. And even though you were on mute right now, I'm really happy to communicate with you guys. I'm really happy to collaborate with you guys. So if you come to Directions EMEA, please make sure you meet me or to meet one of my team members. Come to our booth number S16, or grab me in the hallway, grab me during coffee break, grab me at the bar in one of the evening events. I'm a German person, so most likely I will be drinking beer. And happy to have a beer with you. Send me an email or connect with me on LinkedIn, on Twitter. So I'm really happy to engage. And as I said, I'm kind of the management person at NETRONIC that drives the NAV and Business Central engagement. And so in the end, what I'm driving here will be only successful if you're successful. So me and my team here, we are committed to make you successful. So thanks again, and all have a great day, and we will send out a link to recording very soon. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye, and see you all in Vienna at Directions.